Chapter 1 Electric Charges and Field. Exercise question 1. What is the force between two small charge spheres having charges of 2 into 10 raised to minus 7 coulomb and 3 into 10 raised to minus 7 coulomb placed 30 centimeter apart in air? To solve this equation, we will apply Coulomb's law here. F is equal to K Q1 Q2 by R square. As the charges are in air, the value of K is, you can write K is equal to 9 into 10 raised to 9. Unit is Newton meter square per Coulomb square. Q1 and Q2 values are 2 into 10 raised to minus 7 and 3 into 10 raised to minus 7 coulomb. So Q1 is 2 into 10 raised to minus 7 coulomb. Q2 is 3 into 10 raised to minus 7 coulomb. So from this, if you put the values here, you can get the value of F, that is 9 into 10 raised to 9 into 2 into 10 raised to minus 7, 3 into 10 raised to minus 7, divided by separation between the charges. It is given as 30 centimeter, that is 0.3 meter. 30 centimeter you can write as 0.3 meter, and the square of that is 0.3 square. So if you simplify this, the answer comes out is around 6 into 10 raised to minus 3 Newton. 6 into 10 raised to minus 3 Newton, this is the answer. So here, force acting between the two small charge spheres is 6 into 10 raised to minus 3 Newton when they are placed into air. And as both the charges, they are like charges, the force between them is repulsive. Now, another question. The electrostatic force on a small sphere of charge 0.4 microcoulomb due to another small sphere of charge minus 0.8 microcoulomb in air is 0.2 Newton. What is the distance between the two spheres? What is the force on the second sphere due to the first? So part A of the question, it is given that the electrostatic force on the first sphere is F is equal to 0.2 Newton. Charges on the sphere are Q1 is 0.4 microcoulomb and Q2 is minus 0.8 microcoulomb. So using the equation F is equal to K Q1 Q2 by R square, where medium between the two charges it is air, and that's why you can find the value of R, that comes around 0.12 meter. Both the spheres, they are at, we can say one is positive, another is negative. The force between them is attractive. Another one thing, that is on each particle equal amount of force is acting. So you can say force on another sphere due to the first, that is also equal to 0.2 Newton. Now third question is, check that the ratio Ke square upon G M E into MP is dimensionless. Look up the table of physical constants and determine the value of this ratio. What does the ratio signify? See, if you see this is the equation, you can say it is the ratio of electrostatic force to the gravitational force. Electrostatic force equation is K1 by R square. There is gravitational force is Gm1m2 by R square. Here both the particles are, one is electron, another is proton. So charge of both has equal to E, whereas mass is Me into Mp. So when you take the ratio, it is a ratio of two forces, so it is the dimensionless quantity. So it has no unit. So dimensions will be M0, L0, T0, as well as if you find the value of this ratio, if you put the values here, the value of K is 9 10 to 9, charge of electron or proton 1.6 into 10 to minus 19 coulomb, capital G value, that is universal constant of gravitation, that is 6.67 into 10 to minus 11, and mass and charge of mass of electron and proton is 9.1 10 to minus 31 kg, proton 1.67 10 to minus 27 kg. So putting all these values in the equation, you get around 2.29 10 to 39. It means that the electrostatic force is much stronger compared to gravitational force. Next question is, explain the meaning of the statement electric charge of a body is quantized. And another is, why can one ignore quantization of electric charge when dealing with macroscopic, it means large scale charges. First one, the electric charge of a body is quantized. What is the meaning of this? Electric charge of a body is quantized. It means that the charge transfer from one body to another body, when it is taking place, it is always the integer number. It is not possible that the fraction of electron can transfer from one body to another body. We have studied in the beginning of the chapter that various ways in which charging of a body can take place, and that is by means of transfer of electrons. Transfer of electrons from one body to another body. And it is never possible that a fraction of electron will move from one body to another body. It is always a whole number. That's why we can say charge of any body is always integral multiple of charge of this electrons or protons, and that's why it is called as electric charge of a body is always quantized, and this quanta, that is the smallest amount of charge, that is charge of electron or proton. Another is, we ignore the quantization of electric charge when we deal with the macroscopic, means large scale charges. Correct, because the charge of electron or proton is very small. It is around 1.6 into 10 to minus 19 coulomb. It means that if you consider suppose 1 coulomb of charge, then also the number of electrons or protons in that is around 6.25 into 10 to 18 protons or electrons. So this is a very large number. So that's why whenever we talk about a large amount of charge, then the number of electrons or protons in that it is much larger, and when it is very large number, then it is meaningless to calculate, and that's why we ignore the quantization of charges. Next question is, when a glass rod is rubbed with a silk cloth, charges appear on both. A similar phenomenon is observed with many other pair of bodies. Explain how this observation is consistent with the law of conservation of charge. Say, on rubbing a glass rod with a silk cloth, heat is generated by friction, and this generated heat is used to remove loosely bound electrons of a glass rod, and it acquires a positive charge, and the silk cloth will acquire negative charge due to transfer of electrons from glass rod to silk cloth. This phenomenon of charging is called charging by friction. The net charge on the system of the two rubbed bodies is zero before and after rubbing. Therefore, in an isolated system, the total charge always remains constant. This is consistent with the law of conservation of energy. Next question is, 4-point charges QA is equal to 2 microcoulomb, QB is equal to minus 5 microcoulomb, QC is again 2 microcoulomb, and QD is minus 5 microcoulomb, are located at the corners of a square ABCD of side 10 cm. What is the force on a charge of 1 microcoulomb placed at the center of the square? See here, if you see 4 charges, out of that, the charges which are on the opposite corner, they are like charges, their magnitude is also same. Because the magnitude is same and they are like charges, so due to these charges, the force acting on the charge placed at 1 microcoulomb at the center will be equal and opposite force, and that's why the net force acting on the charge which is placed at the center will be 0. So here we can say that charge which is placed at the center, that is in equilibrium. Next question is, an electrostatic field line is a continuous curve. That is, a field line cannot have a sudden break. Why not? another is explain why two field lines never cross each other at any point. So first one, the electrostatic field line is a continuous curve starting at a positive charge and at a negative charge. Electric field is in a region is always continuous. Therefore, the field lines too are continuous and cannot have a sudden break. Means if there is a sudden break in between, means you can say that in that region there is no electric field, and this is not possible because electric field can extend up to infinity. So you will not find sudden break in between the field. Another, two field lines never cross each other. We know that the tangent drawn to the electric field line at a point gives the direction of electric field at that point. If two field lines cross each other at a point, then there will be two tangents which represent the direction of electric field at the same point, which is not possible. Hence, two field lines never cross each other. Next question. Question 8. 2-point charges QA is 3 microcoulomb and QB is minus 3 microcoulomb are placed or located 20 centimeter apart in vacuum. From the value of charge, you can say this is a system of charges, equal and opposite charges separated by certain distance, so it is a dipole. What is the electric field at the midpoint O of the line AB joining the two charges? And if a negative test charge of magnitude 1.5 into 10 to the minus 9 coulomb is placed at this point, what is the force experienced by the test charge? So first part, as you can see, two charges, they are separated by distance equal to 20 centimeter. Magnitude of each charge is plus or minus 3 microcoulomb. So due to each charge at the center, that is at a distance of 10 centimeter from each charge, the electric field will be, due to positive charge, electric field is outward, due to negative charge, electric field is inward. So at point O, electric field due to both charges have the same direction, and that's why we can say electric field due to both charges will be added. Electric field due to point charge is given by the relation kq by r square. So putting the value here, k is 9 10 to 9, q is 3 into 10 to the minus 6 coulomb, because it is microcoulomb, 10 to the minus 6 coulomb, and r is 10 centimeter, so it is 0.1 meter, or 0.1 square. And due to both the charges, electric field is equal of magnitude, so it is 2 times value, and that if you calculate, it comes around 5.4 into 10 to 6 Newton per coulomb. Now, if this is electric field at the midpoint, and if you put a charge of 1.5 to 10 to minus 9 coulomb at that point, then the force acting on that charge can be calculated by the relation F is equal to Q into E. So putting the values you can get here, 1.5 to 10 to minus 9 coulomb is the charge, electric field is 5.4 into 10 to 6. So your answer will be around 8.1 into 10 to minus 3 Newton. This way you can calculate the force acting on charge placed at the center of this electric dipole. Next question is, a system has two charges, QA is equal to 2.5 10 to minus 7 coulomb and QB is minus 2.5 10 to minus 7 coulomb. Again it is a dipole located at point 0 0 minus 15 centimeter and 0 0 plus 15 centimeter, means that the dipole is on the z axis and the separation between the two charges is 30 centimeter from minus 15 centimeter to plus 15 centimeter. What are the total charge and electric dipole moment of the system? You know that total charge, here one is positive, another is negative. So if you add it, total charge QA plus QB sum will be 0. So net charge of the system is 0. And the dipole moment, if you find dipole moment, P is equal to Q into twice A. So either charge, that is 2.5 10 to minus 7 coulomb, and separation between the two charges is 30 centimeter is 0.3 meter. So multiplying this, you get 7.5 into 10 raised to minus 3 coulomb meter along negative z-axis, because dipole moment, it is from positive to negative. Electric field is from negative to positive to negative. Dipole moment is from negative to positive charge. Okay, so it is from see, you can see negative charge, that is at plus 15 centimeter, positive charge at minus 15 centimeters. So direction will be from positive to negative. So direction of dipole moment is negative z-axis. Next question, question 10. An electric dipole with a dipole moment 4 into 10 raised to minus 9 coulomb meter is aligned at 30 degree with the direction of a uniform electric field of magnitude 5 into 10 raised to 4 Newton per coulomb. Calculate the magnitude of the torque acting on the dipole. Here electric field is given, magnitude of electric field is there, dipole moment is there, you know the angle also it is given, and there is a relation of tau is equal to Pe sin theta. Simply put the values in the equation. You know that sin 30 value is 1 by 2, P is 4 into 10 raised to minus 9, and electric field is 5 into 10 raised to 4. Multiplying all this, you get 10 raised to minus 4 Newton meter. So therefore, the magnitude of torque acting on the dipole is 10 raised to minus 4 Newton meter. Polythene piece rubbed with wool is found to have a negative charge of 3 into 10 raised to minus 7 coulomb. Question 11. Estimate the number of electrons transferred from which to which, and is there a transfer of mass from wool to polythene? Here, when the polythene is rubbed against wool, a number of electrons get transferred from wool to polythene. Hence, wool becomes positively charged and polythene becomes negatively charged. Amount of charge on the polythene piece is Q is T minus 3 into 10 raised to minus 7 coulomb. Amount of charge on each electron is minus 1.6 into 10 raised to minus 19 coulomb. So according to the relation Q is equal to N into E, here N is equal to Q by E. So putting the value, you get around 1.87 into 10 raised to 12 electrons they transferred from wool to polythene. Second part, is there transfer of mass from wool to polythene? Yes, there is a transfer of mass taking place. This is because an electron has a mass around 9.1 into 10 raised to minus 31 kg. But this mass is much less, and that's why it is almost negligible. But it is transfer. Mass transfer takes place, but it is negligible. Next question 12. Two insulated charged copper spheres A and B have their centers separated by a distance of 50 centimeter. What is the mutual force of electrostatic repulsion if the charge on each is 6.5 × 10⁻⁷ coulomb and the radii of A and B are negligible compared to the distance of separation? What is the force of repulsion if each sphere is charged double the above amount and the distance between them is half? Now, so initially charge on both sphere it is equal, separation is 50 centimeter means 0.5 meter. So according to the equation F is equal to Q1 Q2 by R square, you get the value of force that is around 1.52 into 10 raised to minus 2 Newton. Therefore, the force on the two sphere is 1.52 into 10 raised to minus 2 Newton. Now, if you double the charge, then instead of Q1 Q2 it is 2Q1 into 2Q2, and separation you make half, means instead of R square it is R by 2 square. So R by 2 square, so that will multiply 4 and upper side 2 into 2 4, it will be 16 times increasing. So the new force can be around 0.243 Newton, which is 16 times more than the initial one. Next question 13. Suppose the spheres A and B in exercise 12 have identical size. A third sphere of the same size but uncharged is brought in contact with the first, then brought in contact with the second, and finally removed from both. What is the new force of repulsion between A and B? Now let us say initially on A and A charge, if it is Q, and C is neutral. Now if you bring A and C in contact, then on each charge will be equal to q by 2, q by 2. Now since the sphere C with charge q by 2 is brought in contact with sphere B, which is initially having charge q, so total charge q on the system will be divided equally, so it is q by 2 plus q divided by 2, so it becomes 3q by 4. Hence charge on each of the sphere C and B is 3q by 4. So force of repulsion between sphere A having charge q by 2 and sphere B having charge 3q by 4 is, according to the relation, it is kq and q2 by r square. Accordingly it will be around, we can say, using the values of q and q2 in the previous case, it comes around 5.703 into 10 to minus 3 Newton. So this way the force will be changes. It is almost, we can say, 3 by 8 times the initial force. Question 14. Figure shows tracks of 3 charged particles in a uniform electrostatic field. Give the signs of the 3 charges. Which particle has the highest charge to mass ratio? We know that opposite charges attract each other and like charges repel each other. It can be observed that particles 1 and 2 both moves towards the positive charge plate and moves away from the negatively charged plate. Hence, these 2 particles are negatively charged. It can also be observed that particle 3 moves towards the negatively charged plate and moves away from the positively charged plate. Hence, particle 3 is positively charged. Now the charge to mass ratio, that is q by m, is directly proportional to the displacement or amount of deflection for a given velocity. Since the deflection of particle 3 is more, it has the highest charge to mass ratio. Next question is question 15. Consider uniform electric field of 3 into 10 to 3 I cap Newton per Coulomb, means acting along x direction, positive x direction. What is the flux of this field through a square of side 10 cm on a side whose plane is parallel to the yz plane? What is the flux through the same surface if the normal to its plane makes 60-degree angle with the x-axis? Here you can see electric field is given as 3 into 10 to 3 I cap, and so we can say area of the plate will be 10 centimeter into 10 centimeter, that will be 100 square centimeter. So that will be equal to 0.01 square meter. Initially, if electric field is normal to the plane, then angle theta is 0 because area vector is perpendicular to the plane. So here area vector and electric field will be parallel. Theta is 0 degree. So flux phi we say E dot A, that is EA cos theta. Cos 0 value is 1. So multiplying E and A, it is coming around 30 Newton meter square per Coulomb. Now, if theta is 60 degree, then cos 60 value is 1 by 2, so this value will become half. So it is 50 Newton meter square per Coulomb. Next question 16. What is the net flux of the uniform electric field in a previous question 15 through a cube of side 20 cm oriented so that its faces are parallel to the coordinate planes? As all the faces of the cube are parallel to the coordinate axis, in a uniform electric field, the number of field lines entering the cube is equal to the number of field lines coming out of the cube. As a result, net flux through the cube will be 0. Question 17. Careful measurement of the electric field at the surface of a black box indicates that net outward flux to the surface of the box is 8 into 10 to 3 Newton meter square per Coulomb. What is the net charge inside the box? And if the net outward flux through the surface of the box was 0, would you conclude that there were no charges inside the box? Why or why not? So first of all, the net flux is given 8 into 10 to 3 Newton meter square per coulomb, and you know that flux phi is q by epsilon naught. So you can find the value of q, that is 5 times epsilon naught, and epsilon naught value is 8.854 into 10 to minus 12 Newton meter square coulomb square per Newton meter square, and that's why q is equal to, it comes around 0.07 microcoulomb. Second one, that is answer will be no, because net flux passing through the body depends on the net charge contained in the body. If net flux is zero, then it can be inferred that the net charge inside the body is zero. This may have equal amount of positive and negative charge also. Next question is question 18. A point charge of plus 10 microcoulomb is at a distance of 5 cm directly above the center of a square of side 10 cm as shown in the figure. What is the magnitude of the electric flux through the square? See, here you can consider this surface as a part of a cube of side 10 cm, and the charge is at the center of the cube. If the charge q is at the center of a cube, then the net flux through the cube will be flux phi is equal to q by epsilon zero. Due to each phase, equal flux will be there, and that's why due to this single phase, it will be q by 6 epsilon 0. So if you put the values here, then answer will be around 1.88 into 10 raised to 5 Newton meter square per coulomb. Next question, 19. A point charge of 2 microcoulomb is at the center of a cubic Gaussian surface 9 cm on edge. What is the net electric flux through the surface? You know that flux phi is q by epsilon naught, and charge is 2 microcoulomb. Gaussian surface area is 9 cm, but there is no need of Gaussian surface because you know that flux phi is q by epsilon naught. So putting the value, you can calculate it is 2.26 into 10 raised to 5 Newton meter square per coulomb. Question 20. A point charge causes an electric flux of -1 into 10 raised to 3 Newton meter square per coulomb to pass through a spherical Gaussian surface of 10 cm radius centered on the charge. If the radius of the Gaussian surface were doubled, how much flux would pass through the surface, and what is the value of the point charge? First of all, electric flux is -1 into 10 raised to 3. As it is negative, so charge is negative, and radius of Gaussian surface is 10 centimeters at this point 1 meter. So using the equation of flux, you can find out the value of charge, because flux phi is equal to q by epsilon naught, or you can find flux phi is equal to E dot A. E is equal to kq by r square into Gaussian surface area 4 pi r square. So the flux is independent, you can say, of Gaussian surface area. So radius of Gaussian surface, if you double, that will not make any difference, and the flux will remain same. Now if you want to find the value of charge, flux phi, you know that it is q by epsilon 0, so q is equal to phi into epsilon naught. So with that, if you calculate, it is minus 8.854 nanocoulomb. Question 21. Conducting sphere of radius 10 cm has an unknown charge. If the electric field 20 cm from the center of the sphere is 1.5 into 10 raised to 3 Newton per coulomb and points radially inward, what is the net charge on the sphere? Here we can use the equation E is kq by r square. Using that, if you calculate the value of q it is equal to E into 4, we can say 4 pi epsilon naught r square. So if you put the values, you will get the value of charge that comes around 6.67 nanocoulomb. And as the field is radially inward, so charge is negative, so q is equal to minus 6.67 nanocoulomb. Question 22. A uniformly charged conducting sphere of 2.4 meter diameter has a surface charge density of 80 microcoulomb per meter square. Find the charge on the sphere and what is the total electric flux leaving the surface of the sphere. Here, diameter of the sphere is 2.4 meters, so radius becomes 1.2 meters. Surface charge density sigma is 80 into 10 to minus 6 coulomb per meter square. The total charge on the surface of the sphere, that is Q, is equal to charge density into surface area. So it is sigma into 4 pi r square. Putting the value, you get 1.447 into 10 to minus 3 coulomb. Total electric flux leaving out of the surface of a sphere containing net charge Q is phi is equal to Q by epsilon naught. So Q is equal to as 1.447 10 minus 3 coulomb. So flux phi will be equal to 1.63 into 10 raised to 3 Newton per coulomb into meter square. So you can say net flux leaving the surface of the sphere is 1.63 to 10 raised to 8 Newton meter square per coulomb. Next question 23. Infinite line charge produces a field of 9 to 10 raised to 4 Newton per coulomb at a distance of 2 cm. Calculate the linear charge density. You know that electric field is equal to lambda upon 2 pi epsilon naught r. Here electric field is linear charge produced electric field is given, that is 9 to 10 raised to 4 Newton per coulomb. Distance is 2 centimeters. So protect the value, you get lambda, it comes around 10 to minus 7 coulomb per meter. So linear charge density is 10 to minus 7 coulomb per meter. Question 24. Two large thin metal plates are parallel and close to each other. On their inner faces, the plates have surface charge densities of opposite sign and of magnitude 17 into 10 to minus 22 coulomb per meter square. What is E? In the outer region of the first plate, in the outer region of the second plate, and between the plates. So here, charge on plate A is sigma is positive, on charge plate B is negative charge, it is negative, surface charge is negative. Electric field due to surface charge, this charge plate, it is given by relation sigma by 2 epsilon 0. So if one is positive, another is negative, then in region 1 and region 3, electric field due to both the plates will have opposite direction, they will cancel each other, so electric field will be 0. Whereas in the middle region, electric field due to both will have the same direction, it will add up, and that will be equal to sigma by epsilon 0. So putting the value, you get around 1.92 into 10 to minus 10 Newton per coulomb. Question 25. An oil drop of 12 excess electrons is held stationary under a constant electric field of 2.55 into 10 to 4 Newton per coulomb in Millikan's oil drop experiment. The density of the oil is 1.26 gram per cubic centimeter. Estimate the radius of the drop. Value of G is 9.81 meter per second square and charge of electron is 1.6 into 10 to minus 19 coulomb, that is given. Here you know that the force acting on the oil drop due to gravity is mg, and if it is balanced by the electrostatic force F is equal to Q into E, then we can equate these two forces. QE is equal to mg, where Q charge Q is equal to, we can say, N into E. Okay, so here to find the value of this radius of the sphere, we need to find the mass of the sphere, and mass of the sphere is equal to volume into its density, and volume is 4 by 3 pi r cube, density is rho into g. So from this equation, you get the equation for r, that comes around cube root of 3 e n into e upon 4 pi rho into g. Putting all the values in the equation, you get the radius of the drop around 9.82 into 10 to minus 4 millimeter. Question 26. Which among the curves shown in the figure cannot possibly represent electrostatic field lines? Here you can see figure 1 electric field lines. We know that they are always perpendicular to the surface of the conductor, and here the field lines are not perpendicular to the points, so it is not possible. Second case, electric field lines always start from positive and terminate to negative charge. In figure B also you can see it is not possible. See, the field lines shown in C represent electrostatic field lines. This is because the field lines emerge from positive charge and repel each other. D, the field lines shown in D do not represent electric field lines because the field lines do not intersect each other. And E, the field lines shown do not represent electric field lines because field lines do not form a closed loop. They start from positive, terminate to negative. So out of all this, only C is correct. Next, question 27. In a certain region of space, electric field is along the z direction throughout. The magnitude of electric field is, however, not constant but increases uniformly along the positive z direction at the rate of 10⁵ Newton per coulomb per meter. What are the force and torque experienced by a system having a total dipole moment equal to 10⁻⁷ coulomb-meter in the negative z direction? Now you know the dipole moment of the system P is equal to Q into twice, that is 10⁻⁷ coulomb-meter, and rate of increase of electric field per unit length means dE by dL is 10⁵. It is given Newton per coulomb-meter. Force F experienced by the system is given by the relation F is equal to Q into E. So F is equal to Q into E dE by dL into dL. If we do, then it is Q into dL is dipole moment, P into dE by dL, so it is 10⁻⁷ into -5, so it is 10⁻⁻² Newton. As force is negative, that indicates that the force is attractive. The angle between electric field and dipole moment is 180 degrees. Torque is given by the relation P sin theta. Theta is 180 degrees, so torque acting is 0. Question 28. Conductor A with a cavity as shown in figure is given a charge Q. Show that the entire charge must appear on the outer surface of the conductor. B. Another conductor B with the charge small q is inserted into a cavity keeping B insulated from A. Show that the total charge on the outer surface of A is Q, capital Q plus small q. And C. A sensitive instrument is to be shielded from the strong electrostatic field in its environment. Suggest a possible way. First one, A. The electric field inside the charge conductor is always 0. Let a small q is the charge inside the conductor and epsilon 0 is the permittivity of free space. According to Gauss' law, flux pi is q by epsilon 0. As the flux is 0, electric field is also 0, so charge is also 0. Therefore, inside the conductor, electric charge is 0. So whatever charge is on the surface of a conductor. Another, the outer surface of a conductor has a charge capital Q. Another conducting B of charge plus Q is kept inside the conductor A and it is insulated from A. Hence, a charge of amount minus Q will be induced in the inner surface of conductor A and plus Q is induced on the outer surface of the conductor A. Therefore, total charge on outer surface of conductor is Q, capital Q plus small q. Third one, a sensitive instrument can be shielded from the strong electrostatic field in its environment by enclosing it fully inside a metallic surface. The closed metallic body acts as an electrostatic shield. Question 29. Hollow charge conductor has a tiny hole cut into its surface. Show that the electric field in the hole is sigma by 2 epsilon naught, having unit vector, and it is in the outward normal direction, and sigma is the surface charge density near the hole. So for this, let us consider a conductor with a cavity. Electric field inside the cavity is 0. Let E is the electric field just outside the conductor, Q is the electric charge, and sigma is the surface charge density. Then, according to Gauss law, flux pi is E dot ds, that is Q epsilon zone in, and therefore flux pi is equal to Q by epsilon 0. So electric field here, it is sigma by epsilon naught. Electric field just outside the conductor is sigma by epsilon naught. That is normal to the surface. This field is a superposition of field due to the cavity E1 and the field due to all the rest of the charge conductor E2 inside the conductor. Since the total electric field is 0, these fields are equal and opposite. So E is equal to E1 minus E2 is equal to 0. It means that E1 is equal to E2. But outside the conductor, they have equal magnitudes and act along the same direction. So E1 plus E2 is equal to E, that is sigma by epsilon 0. So value of E1 is equal to E by 2, that is sigma by 2 epsilon 0. Therefore, the field due to the rest of the conductor is sigma by 2 epsilon 0 perpendicular to the plane of the surface. Question 30. Obtain the formula for the electric field due to a long thin wire of uniform linear charge density lambda without using Gauss law. For that, consider a long wire of length xy and linear charge density lambda. And consider any point A at a perpendicular distance L from the midpoint O of the wire as shown in the figure. Let E be the electric field at point A due to the wire xy. Consider a small length element dx on the wire of section OZ is equal to x. Let Q be the charge on this space, then Q is equal to lambda dx. Electric field due to the space E is equal to K into Q by AZ square. Since AZ is equal to under root of L square plus x square, so we can write it is K lambda dx upon L square plus x square. The electric field is resolved into two rectangular components, the E cos theta, it is perpendicular component, and E sin theta is a parallel component to the wire. When the whole wire is considered, the component E sin theta is cancelled due to opposite elements. Hence, the perpendicular component E cos theta affects point A. Hence, the effective electric field at point A due to the element dx is lambda dx cos theta upon 4 pi epsilon naught x square plus L square. As you can see from that figure, tan theta is equal to x by L, so x is equal to tan theta, L tan theta. Differentiating dx by d theta is equal to L sin square theta. Dx is equal to L sin square theta d theta. This is x square theta, not sin square. So from equation x square plus L square is L square plus tan square theta is equal to L square sec square theta, x square plus L square is equal to L square sec square theta. So putting the values here, dE1 is equal to this lambda L sec square theta d theta upon 4 pi epsilon naught L square sec square theta into cos theta. So it is lambda upon 4 pi epsilon naught L cos theta d theta, integrating over the range minus pi by 2 to plus pi by 2. The answer comes out is lambda upon 2 pi epsilon naught I. Question 31. It is now believed that protons and neutrons are themselves built out of more elementary units called quarks. A proton and a neutron consist of 3 quarks each. Two types of quarks, the so-called up quarks and one down quark, together with electrons build up ordinary matter. Suggest the possible quark composition for a proton and neutron. The proton has 3 quarks. Let the n up quarks in a proton, each having charge of plus 2/3 e. Then n quarks will make 2/3 e times n. Number of down quarks will be 3 minus n, that the charge of that is minus 1/3 e. So charge of down quark is minus 1/3 e times into 3 minus n. Total charge of the proton is plus e. So e is equal to 2/3 of e into n plus minus 1/3 of e into 3 minus n. From that n is equal to 2. It means that it consists of 2 up quarks and 1 down quark. Similarly, for a neutron, if we do, it will have 1 up quark and 2 down quarks. So net charge of that will be 0. Question 32. Consider an arbitrary electrostatic field configuration. A small test charge is placed at a null point of the configuration. Show that the equilibrium of the test charge is necessarily unstable. Verify this result for the simple configuration of two charges of the same magnitude and sign placed at a certain distance apart. Now, let the equilibrium of the test charge be stable. If a test charge is in equilibrium and displaced from its position in any direction, then it experiences a restoring force towards the null point, where the electric field is 0. All the field lines near the null point are directed inward towards the null point. There is a net inward flux of the electric field through the closed surface around the null point. And according to Gauss' law, the flux of electric field lines through a surface which is not enclosing any charge is 0. Hence, the equilibrium of the test charge can be stable. And the two charges of same magnitude and same sign are placed at a certain distance. The midpoint of the line joining the two charges is the null point. When a test charge is displaced along the line, it experiences a restoring force. It is displaced normal to the line joining, then the net force takes it away from the null point, as the charge is unstable because stability of equilibrium requires restoring force in all directions. Question 33. A particle of mass 7 charge minus q enters a region between the two charged plates, initially moving along x-axis with the speed vx. The length of the plate is L and the uniform electric field is maintained between the plates. Show that the vertical deflection of the plate at the edge of the plate is QEL square upon twice mv square. Compare this motion with the motion of projectile in the gravitational field. Now here you can see the charge on the particle is minus q, velocity along x direction vx, and the length of the plate is L. So magnitude of the uniform electric field in the plates is E. Mechanical force F is equal to m into A. So acceleration is A equal to F by m. As you know, F is equal to Q into E, so acceleration A is equal to Q E by m. So time taken by the particle to cross the field of length L is given by the resistance term T is equal to L by Vx. In the vertical direction, initial velocity is 0, so S is equal to half a t square of Q into E by m into T L by Vx square. So displacement S is equal to QEL square upon twice mvx square. Hence the vertical deflection of the particle at the far edge of the plate is QEL square upon twice mvx square. This is similar to the motion of a horizontal particle under gravity. Question 34. Suppose in this previous question an electron projected with velocity Vx is 2 × 6 meters per second. Electric field in the place is separated by 0.5 centimeters, 9.1 times 2 Newton per coulomb. Where will the electrons strike the upper plate? So here if you put the equation for S and put the values, then L of L comes 1.12 times minus 2 meter. So the electron will strike the upper plate after traveling 1.12